All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to Small Streamer Diaries podcast. This is episode 9, and this episode will just be a solo episode. There's no guest today, it's just me. And this episode is going to be about a 2022 recap. So this idea was suggested to me by my friend Lil P, who was on the last episode where we were talking about, okay, so what's actually good about Twitch. I had my friends Lil P and Commander Frost on, and Lil P, sent this idea to me, and he was like, 22 recap, and like, what were the things that you learned? What were the mistakes that you made? What do you want to do next year? And I thought that was a really good idea. So thank you so much, Lil P, for this idea. Shout out to Lil P. Please go check out his channel. I will have his links in the description as well. He does stream on Twitch. So, there's that. But I will still have his Twitch link in the description because YouTube streamers are just better people in general. So even though he does stream on Twitch, I will allow his Twitch link to be in the description. All right, so what I want to go over first is the things that I learned in 2022. So I started streaming in June of 2021. So it's been over a year since I first started streaming. And I went to YouTube in September of 2021. So it was close to the end of 2021. So it really wasn't in 2022 that I went to YouTube, but I did learn a lot this year. So when I first started on YouTube, I was just streaming. Like, I wasn't really doing any other content. So I would say the top things that I learned in 2022, number one is you need to do your research. Like, I cannot even tell you how many people I find who don't know this about YouTube, don't know that about YouTube, don't know this about Twitch or that about Twitch. Like, they're just not really doing any research. They're not keeping up with the industry. They don't know what's going on with the platforms. They don't know what's happening with content creation. I get a lot of people who are saying like, oh, I didn't know that about YouTube, or I didn't know this. Like, they're just clicking go live on Twitch. They stream for a few hours. They get offline. And then they just go do whatever else. They go to sleep or whatever else they're doing. They don't take the time to do the research. This is probably the most important thing because you need this information in order to be a content creator. You need to know where you're going with your content, what you're doing correctly as a content creator. I mean, the more information you have, the better. I mean, this goes for everything, really. Like, do your research on anything. Like, if you're doing anything at all, do your research. I'm not sure why people are not doing research on this, especially if they are trying to become content creators, but you should definitely do your research. Another super important thing that I learned is you need to take risks. Follow your instincts, like, try things out, experiment, do that platform move. If you are thinking about going to YouTube from Twitch, but you're too scared to, I mean, just do it. Like, but also at the same time, like, follow your instincts. Like, that's why I included like the follow your instincts. If you really feel like YouTube is not the place for you, then stay on Twitch. But for me, like, I really felt like that was the right move to go to YouTube. Like, I was so unhappy on Twitch. Like, I was not growing at all. I was feeling a lot of pressure to be live at the same time every single week on the same days. And then if I wasn't live, I was not growing at all. And I mean, it was a lot of stress for me. I mean, some people will enjoy that kind of platform that Twitch is, but I personally, did not enjoy it. I want to grow offline. Like, I can't, be live all the time. Like, I have a full-time job. I've got a dog. I have a bunch of other things I need to do in my life. So I cannot just go live on Twitch for like hours upon hours a day and just like hope that somebody finds me. Like, so my instincts were telling me very, very strongly, YouTube is the right move. even though I was scared, like, and you know, to me, it made sense to go to YouTube. But when I did, everybody thought I was crazy. Like, I mean, I can't even tell you just like the barrage of people I got on Twitter that were like, oh my God, are you stupid? Like, Twitch is the place to stream if you want to be a live streamer. Nobody watches live streams on YouTube. Like, nobody streams there. Like, the streaming sucks. Like, why would you do that? And another reason that I wanted to go to YouTube, like before it became more Twitch like, I guess, because Twitch really does have a great live streaming experience. But one of the reasons I wanted to go to YouTube, you know, when I did, was because I wanted to go there before everybody else wanted to go there. Like, one of the things I heard from a lot of people was like, oh, well, once YouTube makes their streaming more like Twitch, then I'll go over there. Or some people even told me like, well, you know, I'm going to wait to see if it works out for you. And if it does, then I'll go to YouTube. Don't, like, that's the wrong mindset. Like, you don't want to wait until everybody already gets there or wants to get there. You want to get somewhere early, or you want to be first. I mean, the big streamers now, they started streaming when like live streaming wasn't really a thing. Like, everybody thought they were stupid. Like, people were like, why would people want to watch like just these regular people live? And now it's like a huge thing. Like, now people are making entire careers off of it. So if your instincts are telling you like this is the right move, do that. Like, you can always turn back. You can always do something else. Like, but you will never know. If you don't take that risk, you are never going to know. Post that content that you don't think is going to do well. Like, I have a whole bunch of shorts that I didn't even think were very good, and I post them anyway. And I mean, they get like thousands of views. So you don't know until you do it. Like, you don't know what people want to see. And then based off your content, like how your content is doing, then you're like, okay, I will do more of that content that people want to see. So I think those are the two most important things that I've learned in 2022 is do your research and take some risks and follow your instincts. I mean, I guess that's really three things, but like I put take risks and follow your instincts together because like they kind of go together. It's like your instincts are telling you to do this one thing that's a risk. You're scared to do it, but you should still do it. Other important things that I learned in 2022 was, so this is a really big one, is I have heard all of the, like a lot of advice from various, different YouTubers and, all these channels that help other people grow their channels is provide some value to your content. But what does that mean? Like, I didn't know what that meant for a really long time. Like, because everybody thinks they're providing value with their content, right? Like, especially streamers, like, like everybody thinks that they are bringing value to their content by saying, oh, like, well, I have a great community with good vibes. And that's, they think they're bringing value by just having a community. And it took me a really long time to learn what this actually meant, because I don't feel like people really explained what it meant, and I kind of just had to like figure it out on my own. But basically I had to think about like, okay, so why do I go to content? If I go on YouTube, if I go on TikTok, what am I looking for? And I came up with two things. So I'm either looking for information or I'm looking to be entertained. So what am I providing then, like with my content? If it's not one of those two things, then it's not valuable content. Like, that's what people go to content for. They're looking for information or they're looking to be entertained. So I ask myself all the time, really, like I ask myself, okay, what value are you bringing to people? So personally, like what I came up with is that I provide value mostly with like information to people. I think I provide a little bit of entertainment as well, but I think mostly it's information. So when I'm playing a game, I do a lot of gaming live streams. So when I play a game, people come in and they ask me, how do you like this game? And my answer will be very specific in giving them information about what I like about the game, what I don't like about the game. And I do a lot of like analysis, reviews, and I go really, really in depth on the game. But I've noticed that I go into other streams and most people, if I ask them, hey, how's this game? The answer is just like, oh, it's good, it's great, I love it. And that's for every single game that they play. And so, it's not really providing any sort of information to me. Like, if I go on YouTube and I'm searching, should I buy Pokemon Violet? Like, I'm looking for an answer. I'm looking for very specific things. I'm not just looking for like, oh yeah, it's great, buy it. I think I also provide a lot of information through this podcast, which started off as a video series. And when I first started on YouTube, like I was really surprised that people thought I was crazy. Like I thought it seemed like a really good move to go to YouTube, but I would say like 99% of people thought I was absolutely crazy until, I started finding more people on YouTube that felt similarly to me. But for a really long time, I felt like I was really alone. Like I felt like nobody agreed with me. And so I set out to bring an awareness to these things because, like I said before, like people don't really seem to be doing a lot of research on the different platforms and the content creation industry. So I set out to bring this awareness to people, to bring awareness to things they may not have thought about, and then do a lot of analysis and breaking down different topics within streaming and content creation. Because I mean, I had to learn a lot of things on my own. Like what does bringing value to your content mean? I mean, a lot of people said that, but I wasn't getting an answer on what that actually meant. And I think a lot of people don't get an answer either because, just sitting there on stream and saying hi to everybody that comes into your chat, like that's not bringing value to your content. I also think that I do bring a little entertainment value. Like my shorts are either funny or entertaining moments from my streams, and I've had some shorts that did really, really well. I've gotten a lot of subscribers off of shorts, so I guess I'm somewhat entertaining. Another thing that I learned this year, networking. It's really, really important. But I think a lot of people are getting networking confused with like a follow for follow, subscribe for subscribe. Like, I went into your stream, so you owe me this. Like, it's not that. Like, don't start networking with people and expect anything from somebody that you're supporting. And I think that honestly, like when I was a new creator, like I did this all the time. Like I would go into people's streams, or I would like go to people's videos, comment, spend a lot of time in there, like, subscribe, donate to them, whatever, hoping to like get something back. And to be honest, like I don't know if this is something that you can just stop doing. Like I think it's like a phase that new content creators go through. But I think eventually when you have some experience in being a content creator and you also find what you're passionate about, then you get out of that phase because you start learning what you're doing is valuable to other people, and you'll just keep doing that. And the numbers will not be as important anymore. Like I defined myself by the numbers when I was new, like when I streamed on Twitch and I had a really bad stream, like nobody came in, or like only like one person came in, I would freak out. And now, I mean, well, I'm not on Twitch anymore, but like, on YouTube, I'll still have some streams where like nobody comes in, but like it's okay with me. Like I don't freak out about it. I'm like, okay, maybe it was just a bad night, or people don't want to see that game, or people are busy or whatever. But I don't define myself by the numbers anymore, but they are important. You should look at them. That's another thing that I learned this year. You should look at the numbers. I see so many content creators, especially streamers, who are like, don't look at the numbers, turn off your viewer count, don't pay any attention to the numbers, just go have fun. That's not really, I personally do not feel like that's really good advice, because you do need to look at the numbers. They're going to tell you if your content is valuable to people. And then you're also going to learn, like, okay, what do people want to see? And as far as like, oh, just go have fun, like, okay, yeah, I mean, I like, why do I do content creation? Like, I think it's fun, yeah. But I'm also like, I'm very passionate about it. Like, I work really hard on it as well. Like, I think you have to put in some work. Like, you can't just have the fun, right? Because like, you still have to come up with ideas for your content. You have to come up with ideas for, like what games you're going to play, what like alerts you want in your stream if you're a streamer, like editing, thumbnails, titles if you're doing YouTube stuff. You have to come up with all of that stuff. That's really hard, especially for people who are not as creative. So getting back into the networking, you have to prove your value to somebody first. Don't just expect that they're going to come into your stream and subscribe to you or become a member to your channel just because you did it with them. Like, show them support because you actually enjoy their content. And if you provide value as well, like with your content, they're going to want to support you back. So, for example, like I went to YouTube and I was on Twitter. I was really active on Twitter about, my move to YouTube. And there's this channel on YouTube. It's called vidIQ. They're also like a company. They help people grow their channels. So they do coaching of people who want to grow their channels. They also do a ton of free information, videos, live streams on giving people advice on their channels. And one of the workers for vidIQ, Vyyyper, he manages their social media. He also hosts their podcast. It's called Tube Talk. It's a really great podcast. Go listen to it. I will have that link in the description as well. Vyyyper is a great guy. Like, I found him, by following vidIQ and looking at all their videos and stuff. And I didn't know at first that he managed their social media. And then I saw him on a live stream saying like, yeah, I managed the Twitter account for vidIQ. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that, because I interacted with the vidIQ account all the time. So I went and found him on Twitter because I was like, I really enjoy, interacting with him. So I found his, personal Twitter, followed him there, followed his YouTube. Like, I just really enjoyed his content. And so like I started following him, interacting with him, like commenting on his tweets and stuff. And eventually, he asked me to be on the Tube Talk podcast. But that didn't happen until he was looking at my stuff and the things that I was saying on Twitter, and I had to prove my value first before he ever asked me onto the podcast. So you want to prove that you have valuable content before you're going to get this support back. Like, why should people support you? And then, I'm sure at the time when I was on the Tube Talk podcast that people were like, how did she get on Tube Talk? Because she is a tiny channel. But clearly, Vyyyper saw something valuable in me, or else he wouldn't have asked me on. So basically, don't just expect, don't become entitled to people's time or attention. You need to prove that you've got something to say first. You've got some value. And, just go support the people that you feel are good content creators, your friends. It's a really important part of content creation. I was also on another podcast, BitCloud Gaming, also a great guy. I was on his podcast. He does like a gaming news podcast, and like I wouldn't have been on that podcast unless I proved my value to him first either. Like, because, I did the same thing with him. I was like, okay, I actually heard him on TikTok, and I was like, oh, he seems really cool. Went and looked him up on Twitter, followed his YouTube, started interacting with him. And, I guess he also saw something valuable in me. So he asked me to come onto his podcast as a guest. So you don't know what will go, going back to like taking risks. Like, I didn't know that would happen when I went to YouTube. But I never would have been on their podcast if I hadn't gone to YouTube. So you don't know what will happen. All right, so I think that's it on networking. So another thing I learned this year is you need to post the content first, and then you get the audience. It doesn't work the other way around, because I see a lot of people who are like holding on to pieces of content, and they're like, well, I don't have a big audience and nobody's going to watch this, and like I have stuff I want to post and whatever, but like people aren't going to watch it because I don't have a big audience. I thought the same thing at first too. Like, okay, so I had the idea for doing this small streamer Diaries, not even the podcast, like just the video series. I had that idea for 7 months. It was 7 months until I posted my first video, because I was like, well, I have a really small audience. Like, nobody's going to watch this. So I'm going to wait until I get an audience first. That doesn't make any sense. Like, how, like, you have to post the content first and then the audience will happen. Because like, just like proving your value with like networking, you have to prove your audience with, and you have to prove your value, not prove your audience. You have to prove your value with an audience first. So people will watch your content first, and then if they enjoy your content, then they'll become your audience. It's like an interview. Like, you're not just going to get handed a job. Like, you have to prove your worth in the interview. And then if they say, okay, yeah, I like you, you have the job. It works the same way. So first, post the content. If you have any ideas for content at all, post them. You don't know what will happen, and you might get an audience out of it. All right, so another really important thing that I learned this year is how did I find my place or my niche in content creation? So when I started streaming, literally the only thing I was going to do was just like play video games live on stream. That's it. That's all I started with. I had absolutely no ideas for any other content. I didn't even know I should do other content because I had done no research at that time. I was just starting out. So when I started on Twitch, I really wasn't growing very much, like at nature of Twitch. But I was getting very frustrated. So I did a bunch of research on like, how do I grow my stream? Why isn't my stream growing? What do I do? And got a bunch of advice, or, not advice personally, but like general advice on like, okay, well, you should create other content. You should create other content on YouTube, on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, like wherever, and then bring that audience over to Twitch. Like, tell your audience, oh, I stream on Twitch, and then, they'll come and watch you on Twitch, which first of all doesn't make any sense to me, because I'm like, why? So I have to go to another platform entirely to grow on a different platform. Made zero sense to me. Another reason why I switched to YouTube. But anyway, so I had no plans. I had no plans for any other kind of content. So how did I get to this podcast? So, well, it all started with that, basically, like researching into what do I do to grow my stream. And then, it was like, okay, post other content. Okay, so I started posting some TikToks. I hadn't gotten to shorts yet. I started posting some TikToks, and then as I did more and more research, then I was finding like people weren't really doing the research. People thought I was crazy for going to YouTube, and I was like, okay, well, that's very interesting. Like, it seems like people don't really, they're not really aware of all these things that YouTube is doing with streaming. And then also, they don't seem to be aware of the pitfalls of Twitch, because like I really bought into the idea of Twitch as well. Like, Twitch did a really good job on selling themselves as the place to live stream. And now that's what everybody thinks is like, oh, Twitch is the best place to live stream. But when you don't do any research, you are just in this echo chamber of people saying like, yeah, Twitch is the best place to stream. So when you're not doing your research and you're not challenging yourself to look at things differently, then you're just going to stay the same. Like, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. Like, I have noticed that a lot of people on Twitch that I started watching like a year ago, they have the same audience as they did a year ago. Like, they don't have anybody, they don't have anyone more watching them. Like, their numbers stayed the same, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, they don't have additional numbers in their audience. Like, they just stayed the same. And it's people who stream on Twitch and they don't do any other content at all. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm really interested in this. I'm really interested in why people thought I was crazy for going to YouTube, why people, think it wasn't a good idea. Things that I've learned moving from Twitch to YouTube, because a lot of people, ask me a lot of questions about this as well. So that's when I got the idea to do Small Streamer Diaries. I was like, okay, I will talk about the things that I learned, bring some awareness and analysis to these topics. So I started the video series. And then as I did more and more research, like, I kept on top of Twitch news and YouTube news. And I did a lot of this on Twitter. I would tweet out things that I thought about, like Twitch's decisions or YouTube's decisions, or the things that people said about Twitch and YouTube. I would just tweet out a lot of words, multiple tweets on analyzing those things and what I thought about them. And eventually, like, people started following me for it. Like, I'm known now as like the person, or one of the people. There's multiple people out there, but I'm known as like somebody who breaks down like Twitch versus YouTube topics, and then other streaming topics and content creation topics, but especially YouTube versus Twitch. So I'm known as somebody who like does a lot of like analysis and why did I go from Twitch to YouTube, and why do I think Twitch is so bad, and why do I think YouTube is so good. So I'm like known as that person now. But when I started, I hadn't planned on doing that at all. Like, I was like, I'm just gonna live stream video games. So once you start with content, like, you never know where it's going to go. Like, I had no idea I would have such a passion for breaking down all these topics in content creation and streaming, and looking at YouTube versus Twitch and seeing what people thought about YouTube versus Twitch. So you never know where it's going to go. You never know what passion you're going to find. So try different things. Like, you need to find a passion for things. This is something else that I noticed as well, is like, a lot of people don't have like a passion for things. Like, they just want to play video games and get paid for doing it. So Harris Heller said in one of his videos, like, most people don't want to be content creators. They want to be paid for playing video games. And that doesn't make a content creator. You can, going on stream and just playing games, you're not going to get paid for that. Like, that doesn't create valuable content. So again, like, are you bringing an entertainment value to your content, or are you bringing educational / informational value to your content. Like if you're not, then you need to find a way, or, you know, maybe your content just is not valuable to others. So that is a good segue into what I want to go over next, which was some harsh truths that I have observed about people in content creation. So once again, you know, people don't do the research. I mean, I feel like I'm saying this over and over, but I don't understand why people are not doing the research on, if you want to be a content creator, you should be doing the research on this industry, keeping up with the news on whatever platform you're on. I mean, it's just like any other industry. Like I work for an IT company. We would never release a product or a service without looking at the industry first. Like if we just released a product or a service without any research at all, how would we know if it was going to sell or if customers even found it valuable? We wouldn't know. That's why we have to do the research. Like that's, I mean, it's the same thing in every industry. Like, do your research. Another harsh truth that I have observed is many people, I would say most people, in fact, trying to be content creators are just not meant to be content creators. I mean, and I think that it's not necessarily that they're bad content creators. It's just that being a content creator requires certain skills and certain qualities, and not everybody is suited to that. I mean, but this is not meant to like sound like anything. This is not meant as anything bad, because like it's just like with any other job. Like we need all kinds of jobs to make the world go round. Like that's why we have different jobs. Like not everyone is suited to become a lawyer. Not everyone's suited to become a doctor. Not everyone's suited to become an accountant. Not everybody is suited to work in IT like I do. So I mean, it's not necessarily bad. Like if you like feel like, you know, people aren't watching your content, it doesn't necessarily mean like you're a bad person, like, or you're stupid or whatever, like you might think about yourself. It just means that like not everyone is meant to become a content creator. So now we're going back to, okay, what does valuable content mean? So if people cannot provide an educational or entertainment value to their content, then you know, your content is not going to be valuable to people. Maybe you're just not meant to be a content creator. And I see a big misconception with the whole community thing. Like, oh, I want to create a community that is tight knit and has good vibes or whatever. But like, that's not content. Like creating a community comes secondary to your content. I mean, and then, you know, it's funny because like everybody always thinks that like I sound like a horrible person when I say this, and it sounds like I don't care for having a community, and that's not it at all. I'm just saying that like the community comes from your content. Like if I'm looking up, should I buy Pokemon Violet? I'm not looking up, you know, I'm not looking at joining a Pokemon Violet community. I'm not Googling or putting into the YouTube search like Pokemon Violet communities. Like I'm looking for an answer. So I'm looking for the content first. And then if I enjoy the content, then I will join the community. Like, so, you know, my friends on Twitch and YouTube, if I don't enjoy the content, like I'm not going to join the community. But all my friends that I do have that are content creators, like I enjoy their content first, and then I was like, okay, you know what, I like their content, I like this content creator / streamer, and I like their community, so I'm going to join their community. So the community comes first from doing your content, and then also I want to point out the community grows around you. Like I can't tell you how many people have told me that they don't want to go to YouTube because they don't have the community that Twitch has. The community grows around you. You make the community. It's not the platform. It's you that makes the community from your content. So another thing to think about. Okay, so another harsh truth that I've noticed, so many people are entitled to an audience. So many people think that they, just because, they made a video, that they go on stream and they play a game, that people should be coming into their streams or coming to their videos and watching. But once again, we have to go back to, like, what is your content valuable? Like, just because you made a video, just because you go on stream, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are entitled to an audience. You have to provide value with your content. I mean, nobody's entitled to an audience. I mean, even really great content creators, they're not entitled to an audience. The audience will come to them if they have great content, but it doesn't mean that they just automatically get it. All right, so another thing that I have learned, another harsh truth I've learned, is that content creators can be very toxic. The whole content creation community, it can be very toxic. I mean, I love content creation, I love the community, but I was very naive when I first started. Like, I thought everybody just loved everybody. I thought everyone was so welcoming. And it's not like it's so bad that I'm leaving the content creation community. Like, I made many great friends. I've met a lot of great people, but I've also seen a lot of people who are very toxic and they just flat out lie. Like, I've seen people who have been like, oh, I didn't use any other platform to grow on Twitch and I became a partner. Like, I didn't use Twitter or YouTube or anything. Like, I only use Twitch. And some of those people, like, they already had a big following on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and then they started on Twitch. So I was like, okay, I mean, that's just lying then. But people do this as content creators because it makes them seem more relatable. Like, because there's this whole concept in content creation of like, oh, I'm just a regular person and I just decided to go live for fun, or I just decided to make videos for fun, and then people just came to me and I have no idea why. I have no idea why they watched me. I have no idea why they're subscribing to me or donating to me or giving me money. Like, I don't know. I'm just a regular person. I think that, I mean, I don't understand why we're doing that. Like, I don't understand why we are pretending that, like, content creators don't require, like, certain skills or certain qualities. Like, you got to be good on camera. You've got to convey information. You've got to provide value and entertainment or educational or information. I mean, you need to show people something with your content. And I mean, I'm just not sure. I just don't think, it benefits anybody to just go around pretending that we're all just like regular people who, like, just didn't really do anything different. And, we got an audience and, like, we have no idea. We have no idea why people watch me. Or, like, I think people watch my content because they enjoy hearing about my thoughts on these breakdowns of these topics, like this episode. Like, I would think that people are watching this episode because they want to know what I think. They want to know what I thought, like, about streaming, YouTube, Twitch. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I don't know why people would watch this video. Like, I think it sets people up for failure. I think it gives people really unrealistic expectations. That's why people are entitled to an audience. Like what I was just talking about. Like, people think that, like, they just go on camera, they just play a game on stream, and they think that, like, everybody should be coming in to their stream just because they're live streaming a game. Like, it doesn't work that way. And I think people are really unaware of the fact that content creators require certain skill sets and they require certain qualities. And yeah, I mean, I just don't think that we should be pretending that, like, it's anything different. But, a lot of content creators, they know that if they present themselves as somebody more relatable and like, oh, I'm just like you, then they'll get more support and they'll get more views. And monetary support and things like that. But like that, this is just something that I do not believe in. Okay, so what are some of the mistakes that I made this year? So I first do want to say that I think that every mistake still, taught me something. Every mistake should teach you something anywhere, like in life in general. I would say biggest mistake, not starting earlier. I mean, I could have started like 10 years ago and I didn't. So I mean, I guess that wasn't the biggest mistake this year, but that's the biggest mistake in general. Not posting the content. Because, like I would make a lot of shorts and then I just wouldn't post them because like I would be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't really think this short is funny. And then I just didn't post it. But then I was like, well, now I'm posting all the shorts that I make because I'm like, well, I'm not, maybe it is people, it is something that people want to see. So not posting the content, not learning to be better at thumbnails, editing videos, and Photoshop, I think is a really big one for me. I learned a little bit, but probably not as much as I could. I mean, I have Photoshop, I have Adobe Premiere Pro, but it's really hard for me to learn. I don't know. I just feel like these apps are not like beginner friendly. I don't know how people learn these apps on their own because it's like very difficult for me. I do like these super simple thumbnails and editing, like all really the most editing I do is maybe like adding some text and then like trimming some stuff and putting it all together. And then like my thumbnails, they're super simple. They're just like a screenshot from whatever game I'm playing, some text, and then like a picture of me. And I probably could have spent a lot more time learning to be better at these things. So that goes into what are my goals for 2023, which is one of them is, getting better at editing and thumbnails and Photoshop and titles of YouTube, because that's also a really big thing that like I think people underestimate the titles of YouTube, but that's almost as important as the thumbnail, or maybe some people think it's more important. Like I mean, I think everybody has different opinions on what's more important, but they're both really, really important. So basically getting better at titling YouTube videos, thumbnails, and editing. Another goal I have is to continue the podcast. Like I found I love doing a podcast, like, and I guess I should have put this with my, how did I find my place or niche in content creation topic, but I forgot, but here we are. So I'll talk about it now. So I like listening to podcasts, but I didn't really think about being on a podcast. Like, I mean, I like talking a lot, but I just never really thought about a podcast. So I was doing my Small Streamer Diaries video series. I had a guest on, but we didn't consider it a podcast. We just considered it another video. And I was like, you know what? I really enjoyed doing that. Like, I really liked having somebody to talk to and bounce ideas off of and have a really good discussion. And so I was like, okay, maybe, this series would do better as a podcast, but I still didn't start it for a really long time because that was just like an idea, like, oh, maybe I should turn it into a podcast. But then I didn't come up with ideas on what to actually do in the podcast, like topic ideas, like, episode topic ideas for a long time. And then I also wasn't sure who I wanted to ask on. Like it's hard for me to ask my friends to help me out with these things, like, because, everybody's time is valuable. And it's really hard for me to ask my friends to give up their time, just to help me out. But I found a friend, Polybius of Arcadia, or PB of Arcadia, as he's rebranded his channel name now. And, he agreed to do a podcast episode with me, and it went really great. And he's actually been on most of the podcast episodes. So shout out to PB as well. I'll also have his link in the description. He's another, fellow YouTuber who thinks that YouTube is much better than Twitch. But anyway, so like I think if the podcast with Polybius hadn't gone so well, I probably would have given up on the podcast there. But like, he really helped me out. He's a great person to talk to. He really helped the podcast. So I had so much fun doing it, and I love talking about the stuff. Like, Polybius is also, he's like me, like he loves talking about the stuff. I also, didn't find a whole ton of people who would like want to talk about this stuff. Like, like I said before, like I go into a stream and I ask somebody how the game is, and they're just like, "Oh, yep, it's great." And then that's all I get from them. And I love talking about like specific things, analyzing things, but I'm finding out like this is not what most people do. Like, it's normal for me, but I guess it's not normal for everyone. I've actually got another friend, LumberjackSamurai, and I talked to him about this before and said, like it seems like most people aren't doing, saying these like very specific things and going on and on and on about like the games I play, and then like YouTube for Switch and stuff. And so I work as a business analyst in IT. And Lumberjack Samurai told me once, like, Rebecca, you're not like a normal person though. Like, that's what you do for work. You're an analyst in IT, like, so you're going to do that with content creation and streaming and games. And like, that's just what you do. But like, yeah, that's not like a normal person thing to do. Like, you're not like a normal person. So I find that I love talking about that stuff. I really love podcasting because I get to break down those topics so much with other people that love to talk about it, or maybe just by myself. I mean, it's what, 47 minutes into this episode, and it's just me talking. So I could just do it by myself, I guess. But I love like talking to other people about this stuff. It's very interesting. I also like to have people on to like challenge my own opinions and my own views. So another Tube Talk episode, Vyyyper was talking to this guy Adam about it was like live audio, so basically like a live stream but just audio, no video. And they were talking about like the future of live audio, and Adam was saying in that episode, it's important to have people that like challenge your opinions. Like, you don't want to stay in the same place. You want to grow, and you grow by being challenged. Like, you challenge yourself, other people challenge you. That's why I had the last episode was what's good about Twitch, because if you have listened to anything that I've said in the past year, like me and Polybius always joke about how like whenever we do a podcast episode together, it always turns into Twitch bad, YouTube good. I joked about how I should rename this podcast like Twitch bad, YouTube good, because it always seems to turn that way with like me and Polybius. And he's usually the guest on my podcast because he loves to talk about the stuff just like I do. But like if I just had Polybius on for every single episode, like I would just be in an echo chamber of like Twitch bad, YouTube good. So I had a couple friends on last time, and we talked about, okay, like what are the good things about Twitch? And so like, they were really challenging me to think about like what is good about Twitch. Because there are a couple of good things about Twitch. Not enough for me to stay on Twitch, but there are, some things, I guess. Okay, so anyway, one of the goals for 2023 is to continue the podcast. I want to do at least 15 episodes because I saw a statistic on Twitter that 50% of podcasts have less than 15 episodes. So my next goal for next year is to do 15 episodes. Another goal that I have is to go to VidSummit. So VidSummit next year is going to be in Dallas, which is close to where I live. So, it'd be really easy for me to go there. Like I already live around the area. I know that a lot of content creators I interact with on YouTube and Twitter and listen to on YouTube, they go to VidSummit every year. And it would be so great to meet them. So that's a goal for next year. And my main goal for next year is to just continue what I'm doing, streaming shorts, going on Twitter and saying my thoughts, just everything that I'm doing. I feel like I am doing like pretty well, like maybe not the best ever that it could have gone, but like I personally feel like I'm doing pretty well. Like I feel like I am a pretty good content creator. Like I feel like I am learning things all the time. I still feel like, I'm still learning a lot about being a content creator. Like, but I think I was already suited to be a content creator. And now I'm just kind of like learning the techniques and things of being a content creator. And my shorts have done pretty well. Like there's some shorts that don't do so well, but I found a lot of success with shorts, and they're really pushing shorts. They really want people to do shorts. So I want to continue definitely doing shorts. I want to continue doing what I'm doing on Twitter, which is like saying my thoughts, doing analysis on different things I see on Twitter. Like it surprises me sometimes, like what people will look at on Twitter, because like I will just go out there saying my thoughts, like, oh, well, I think this about Twitch's latest decision, or something that somebody said on YouTube, or what. Like, I mean, just today I was posting a tweet about one of Harris Heller's videos, and he was saying he was going to go back to Twitch. And if you don't know him, he was a really, really big advocate of people going to YouTube, moving from Twitch to YouTube. And then he just released a video saying like, oh, I want to go back to streaming on Twitch. Like just sometimes, like I want to stream on all the different platforms, like, and that includes like going back to Twitch. And he also said something about like, don't pick a side unless you are paid by that platform, because picking a side doesn't do anybody any good except for the platform, which I really disagreed with. But I won't get too much into it now. But basically, like what I said on Twitter was like, I disagree with that, because I'm not even monetized on YouTube, but I still picked YouTube because like I just don't feel that Twitch is a good platform for a content creator. I don't feel that I don't like the way Twitch operates. I don't like the way they treat their creators. It's just Twitch bad, YouTube good. So like, even though YouTube's not paying me and I'm not even monetized on YouTube, like I still picked YouTube because this is just what I felt was right. Like I'm just doing what I believe in and what I think is the right thing to do. All right, so I think that is all that I wanted to cover. So that is my 2022 recap. Once again, Lil P, thank you so much for this idea. Please check out Lil P. He is a good friend of mine. Also, please check out Polybius of Arcadia, also a good friend of mine. All right, so Happy New Year. This is going to release on New Year's Eve. I think that would be a really good time to release, and so you can hear about my recap of 2022 on New Year's Eve. Have a great new year. I hope 2023 brings really great things for you. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Please do let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.